My asshole child move was I kicked Brooke out of the band in 4th grade with
What
a
was
note.
your band name?
The Alley Cats.
Nice.
In typical, what was that, 2007, 8 fashion?
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. With a note.
The note. She remembers that. I don't remember doing that at all.
That's so
But to
funny.
this day, Brooke is like, you kicked me out of the band. It was so rude. I was so upset. I went home and cried.
Does she still have the note?
I don't think so.
I want to know what the note said. Like,
You're not in the band.
you're not in the Alley Cats anymore. You're an Alley Can't. Get out.
Hello. Hi, guys.
Welcome back.
Another episode, Sometimes Bus Slaps. I'm Mac.
I'm Jubes.
And today's episode, we are talking about the Jungian archetypes. Like we've talked about it a little bit before with the courage to be disliked.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all about Jungian principles.
Yes, and I think it was in another episode. I want to say cognitive dissonance, but I don't know. It's either that or shadow work.
Yeah.
But
we're talking about our boy Jung.
Carl Jung.
And how his archetypes have shaped what we know personality and personality psychology and whatnot to be. So
yeah, it was very interesting because as I was learning it, a lot of people don't actually like believe in these archetypes.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of comments about how he's like a pseudo psychologist.
Yeah,
I was like, here we're back with the pseudo word.
I know. So I was like, that's interesting.
We'll get into it. There's on one site or something that was like he's only known as pseudo because everyone chose Freud over Jung, even though Freud and Jung worked closely together and they were actually friends for a while there.
Yeah, they were, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
such fun.
Yeah.
What's new with you?
A lot, I guess. What am I going to talk about? Oh, last night, my boyfriend and I went to go and play soccer. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, he is 7 inches taller than me, 40 pounds heavier than I am, and played soccer as like an activity as a kid.
Yeah,
I played soccer in 1st grade.
Yeah, me too.
And
I just played it for the outfit.
I didn't do that. I played it because I had a crush on my friend's cousin.
You know what?
I remember that.
Whatever it takes. I just wanted the shin guards and shin cleats.
But yeah, no. Did that when I was 6 and then actively avoided soccer games and gym class all the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, that's the sport I hate the most.
But it was fun, so it's important to him. So I'm like, okay, I'll go kick around the ball with you. Well, he goes and tries to do like drills, right? We're doing these drills.
Yeah.
And it's fun, dandy. Like, I'm not good. I'm gonna fumble, whatever.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, let's race. I'm like, no. I don't think you understand. I don't run.
Yeah, we're not racing.
I can skate laps around you. I'm really good at pushing with my legs, but like the actual motion of like running, I'm not fast. I'm not speedy.
Yeah.
I used to think I was speedy as a kid. I still wasn't speedy as a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I tried to race.
I hoped you were gonna go here.
Quadriplegic. Because on his wheelchair. And I thought I was like the fastest thing ever. And we were taking photos with him for his political campaign. And because my grandma was working for his political campaign and whatnot. And he remembers that he actually wrote a book and he put this moment in his book. Because 5-year-old Michaela didn't give 2 shits that he was not using his legs. Yeah. I was going to beat him. Yeah. I was faster than his electric chair.
That's amazing.
And so I'm in his book about this story, but yeah.
That's so good.
Always, I'd race my dad to the fridge and stuff, but I was never fast.
Yeah.
And so he's like, oh yeah, let's like race to this pole and back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to lose. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to lose. He's like, oh, that's not a bad mindset to go in with. I'm like, no. You don't understand. I don't run.
Yeah.
Your legs end at my rib cage.
Yeah.
And you actually played like rugby and soccer.
Yeah.
So how do you think I'm supposed to like be faster than you?
Literally.
Slow. I'm like, yeah, maybe for the sports that you played. But
still
for an average.
Faster than me.
Yeah. So sure enough, I lost.
Yeah.
And then he does other like jumping drills and stuff. And he's like, no, let's do a drill. Like you have to kind of like, run into each other because sometimes that's what happens when you're like trying to play defense and stuff like that. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen right now. Yeah. I'm gonna run into you. I'm gonna go flying. Yeah. And you're not gonna move. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not like This isn't me giving up. This is me knowing the facts and knowing that you are going to kick my butt right now.
Literally. Yeah.
And so sure enough, we do one.
Yeah.
And what happens? I go flying. Yeah. It looks like those videos when people run into each other with the exercise balls.
Oh, yeah.
But one person just launches back 4 feet. That was me.
Yeah, that's fun. That's so good.
And I was like, so that's how that went. So I'm at the start of my soccer career now.
Good. Great. Congratulations.
We're going to be doing some more drills with that.
I'm not going to watch you play soccer. I hate it.
No, and then he's like, would you play rugby with me? And I'm like, I'll play rugby with you, but not in the way that you want me to play rugby.
Yeah.
I'm not getting tackled and crushed.
Yeah.
On grass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll play flag rugby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I like my nose.
Mm-hmm. Literally. I'm like, no. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. So we moved my grandma the last couple weekends into a manor, just she needs a little bit more care.
Full on punch the mic at you.
Apologies for your ears. I'll do my best to cut that out. And so yeah, we moved her into the manor, and as we were like cleaning out her old place, she has this like selection of just wine, like so much wine. She doesn't drink wine; she drinks beer, but she has tons of wine glasses or wine bottles. Yeah, and so we were like going through them, and so there's one. It's in the shape of like a skull. Oh, fun! It was so cool
for wine.
We don't know what's in there.
I've seen like a vodka skull bottle, but
we don't know what's in there. And so the fun fact about this
is it clear?
Is that when we first tried it, it was blue. Bryce remembers it being blue. That was the first time we saw it. When they moved it 4 years ago, it was green. When I threw it out on the weekend, it was brown. And there were floaties. It was foul. Like, think organic apple juice with like the stuff that like, yeah, it was that. It was like thick. And I was like, you know what? I could have thrown this out. I'm just gonna do that. And then my brother was like, what color was it? And I was like, it was brown. He's like, oh, that's funny. It was green when we moved it last time. I was like, no. Absolutely not. And Bryce was like, yeah, it was blue the first time I saw that. And I was like,
I think it's just like it's spoiled.
I have no idea.
Think it was like 3 different liquids?
I have no idea. No idea. Bryce was like, yeah, like my sister and my dad like took a shot out of it. Like not on the weekend when it was brown, but back when it was blue, because he remembers it being like, it was a core memory for him. It was just traumatizing. And then she had like a little, she really enjoys isogenics. And so she has like a little like isogenics, like power booster little shot like thing or whatever. They look like the 5-hour energy bottles. And it had green like painter's tape on it with vodka written on it. And you open it up and it was yellow, like dehydrated urine yellow. It was disgusting. And it just smelled like vodka. And we were like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw that out too. Like, that's so nasty.
Like, is that the bottle?
Yeah.
So that's like
pretty close.
That's like the crystal vodka skull bottle. So it's almost like she kept the bottle and filled it up with stuff.
With other stuff, yeah. It was because then she had an amaretto bottle with painter's tape labeled tequila.
So she's like reusing the bottles then.
Yeah, and I was like, what happened to the original tequila bottle? Like, what happened with that? It was so random, and I was like, that's foul. So yeah, I was like, I'm just gonna take the liberty of throwing this out because she's not gonna drink it and I'm not gonna drink it, and it's probably dangerous. So I just chucked it. I was like, I don't even want to open this to smell it because it'll probably kill me if it's went from blue to green to brown in the last 7 years. Like, that's a really short amount of time for a liquid to change colors that much.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then I was going through a bookshelf and I found a couple good books. And so one of the book was The Brain That Changes Itself. And so she actually had 2 copies of those, which was awesome. So I gave one to you and then I kept her original one. And it was so cool because she had newspaper clippings in the back where she read about the book in the newspaper and then ordered it from Chapters and wrote, on this day I ordered the book. It should be here this day or whatever. And then she was using that as a bookmark in her actual book.
Oh, fun.
It was so cool. I was like, that was kind of fun to like find, right? Because she was like, yeah, no, I read about it. It sounded cool. So I ordered the book and then I like kept this newspaper clipping to like remembered that I ordered the book. It was really cool. I was like, that's so fun.
So we've added the book to our list. So
yeah, she had a couple really good ones. There's like the Telomere Effect, which I'm so excited to read. I'm gonna start that one pretty soon.
Yeah,
but I have to read this month's book, and then or next month's book, and yeah, The Brain That Changes Itself, and then another one, brain related. It's so cool,
fascinating.
So
right up our alley.
I know. I was like, this is amazing. And then she gave me The Joy of Cooking. It has like 500 different recipes or whatever in it. So I forgot that one at her house, so I gotta get that. But
I was like, also when I went to visit my aunt, she gave me a whole bunch of like psychology therapy kind of books too, so we can pick from those. So
I know, like my to be read pile is like so big. And then Jenny was like, have you read this book? And I was like, no, I haven't. She's like, you have to. It's so good. I was like, I know, but I don't have time. So she's like, many books. She's like, text me when you start it, and I'll start it again. I'm like, okay. Aww. And then I feel bad because it's been like a week and a half since she gave it to me, and I still haven't started it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, I will. I'm so excited. But it's one of those books where like I know it's gonna be so good, so I need to like dedicate like a weekend to just reading it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But so that's pretty much new with me.
Yeah.
I guess. So
we'll get into our boy Carl Jung then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Carl Jung, he's a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded analytical psychology. He worked closely with our buddy Freud, but his theories have not been as popular as Freud. Jung proposed that and developed the concepts of extroverted and the introverted personalities. He also developed archetypes and the collective unconscious.
Even though I wrote that, I didn't read that he read extroverted or introverted personality. I didn't realize that was something that he had kind of coined.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. And so this then goes down later on that actually the personality tests that we took from episode 1 are based off his concepts.
Yeah. I found that when I was doing research for this. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So he first proposed extroversion and introversion for personality types and then further expanded onto it to be the 16 personality like types that we know today.
Well, I find it very interesting that even though it's not as popular as Freud, like that is one idea that like everyone talks about. Yeah, is whether you're introverted or extroverted.
Yeah, but I think Jung was a little stunted because he is so commonly used, but no one knows.
No one knows. Yeah, like I had no idea that was like
just because like a certain company, I can't remember what it was called, published Freud over Jung, and that's why we use Freud more.
Right. Yeah. So if he had been born either before or after Freud,
or
then he could have
been in a different place of the world, so it wasn't so Freud focused.
Oh, is he Austrian as well? Oh, interesting. Well, isn't Freud
Swiss?
Swiss.
Yeah. So I thought Carl Swiss. Sorry.
Carl Swiss.
Carl Swiss.
Carl Swiss.
Freud is Austrian.
Okay.
But they're right there.
Oh, Carl is Swiss. Okay. I just heard Carl Swiss. And I was like, is that his new last name? Like, I don't understand.
Mr. Jung is Swiss.
Okay. I wasn't getting the is, but I'm with you now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then so what's an archetype? What are we going to be talking about essentially? So an archetype is a very typical example of a certain person or thing. Yeah. And so when we first added to the list, Jordan's like, I want to do archetypes. And I'm like characters and stories, because that's what I know archetypes as, because that's what we would look for in my AP English class.
Yeah. Well, and it turns out that like he has some like main archetypes, and then he has more that you can kind of expand on. And the ones that he expands on, he has gotten from like mythologies and like from stories and stuff. So they are very, very similar. And you do see a lot of these archetypes in stories as well.
Yeah. And screenwriters and novelists, and they'll use archetypes because it's, you write what you know. You find someone that, or you write a personality traits that everyone can find someone in their own lives. So it makes it relatable and people can connect to the story better.
Exactly.
So we'll get into it.
So like the kind of basis behind archetypes is they're very universal inborn models of people, behaviors, and personalities that play a role in influencing human behaviors, like Matt kind of just said. And so Carl Jung suggested that archetypes were archaic forms of innate human knowledge passed down from our ancestors, and they represent the universal patterns and images that are part of our like collective unconscious, which is an interesting thing to think about. And so he also theorizes that we inherit these archetypes in a similar way that we inherit instinctive patterns of behavior. So he's almost saying that they're genetic, but not quite, which I think is very interesting. The idea of like inheriting an archetype, but it does make sense, especially because he also theorizes that they organize how we experience certain things, and they each play a role in our personality. And he also suggests that people are dominated by one specific archetype kind of deal.
Yeah. So the collective unconscious is one of the 3 components that Jung believes the human psyche is composed of, the other 2 being ego and personal unconscious. And so in this theory, the ego represents the conscious mind, and the personal unconscious contains your memories, including suppressed ones.
Yeah.
I sounded very robotic when I described that there. But essentially, the collective unconscious is the part of the human psyche that serves as a form of psychological inheritance and contains all the knowledge and experiences that humans share as a species.
Yeah.
And so the personal would be more of what we know as like our unconscious mind for Freud, of like your personal belief systems and things that you were raised, and like all these, I don't know, traumas or unfulfilled desires, and
they're specific to you as a person versus something a society will experience as a whole.
And then the ego generally plays as a mediator between the 2, which we will get into next week.
I think so.
Cool.
And so, like we kind of said, his ideas are not as popular as Freud. His work tended to veer more into the mystical and pseudoscientific, and so people study it more as like a historical artifact, like a literary criticism, and apply it more to like mythology of like, okay, who is like this character? What archetype is he? Versus like applying it to real human people. And he's often actually been criticized for being overly stereotyped, reductionistic, and culturally biased, which very interesting.
Which I think could be arguable for every single
he's a
philosopher,
white man in the early 1900s. Yes, he's going to be culturally biased. Like that's just kind of how that goes. But
so get into them. So Jung identified 4 major archetypes, but said that there's no limit to the number that can exist. So the 4 major archetypes are the persona, the shadow, the anima or animus, and the self. And they often give 12 archetypical figures as well.
Yes.
And so the persona is how we present ourselves to the world. This archetype, it represents all of the different social masks that we are among various groups and situations. Its purpose is to shield the ego from negative images. This allows people to adapt to the world around them and fit in with society in which they live. However, if you become too closely identified with this archetype, it can cause people to lose sight of their true selves.
And so when I was looking into that, because autistic people do not know how to like mask or interact with society in like a generally acceptable way, like there's a little bit of a disconnect there. I was so curious about like, what is their persona? Like, is there different? Do they have one? Right? Like, what is the mask that they put on? But there was no research on that whatsoever.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so I was very curious because persona isn't an accepted thing in the field. So no one would think to study that because no one believed that it like applies to a person. But I was like,
if you're interested in the brain and are happy to study how autistic people mask and how that works, let us know. Send us an article.
I was like, that is just a very interesting question.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I can't not hear Mask and not think of the movie The Mask with Jim Carrey.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
You haven't? We watch it every year, and then on the TV of The Mask, he's like, we all wear masks, and there's like a old philosopher talking about Jung's archetypes, and basically in the movie, I think it was Jung, but it's like, this is my book, The Mask. We all wear masks, and it's just like a metaphor for society, blah, 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 blah. So every time I hear that, that's all I can think about.
It makes sense. And I feel like people have like different personas as well. Like my podcast persona is a little bit different than my personal persona, right? Like who I am by myself is different than who I am in front of this camera, right?
Okay.
I'm a little bit more animated in front of this camera.
Oh, really?
Yes. I definitely put on a show. Like I'm on in front of this camera. Whereas when the camera is off, I can also be off.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Or is that autism? Am I just masking? I don't know.
I think so. I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I agree with you for myself.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I think I'm very I don't know, level across the board. I feel like I've always been just a very like, you know what to expect from Michaela.
Yeah.
In all forms.
And like, I don't know if it's just like I've grown up acting and dancing and like having like a performer persona as well.
Yeah.
And then I just tap into that for this. But I guess also who I am on the podcast is who I am in a group of people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, your animation is great for thumbnails.
I know, it's so fantastic.
You always have good faces, and I have to go cycle between my 4 same faces that I always use.
My favorite thumbnail of ours is when I'm holding my sock up over my feet. I'll upload that.
The dogs.
Yeah. Sorry, my dogs are wild. They haven't been muzzle trained. My sister's friend came over for a little visit, and she thought it was so funny that I found the concept of dogs like so relatable, and I would just like, we're at the beach.
No.
And so I was like, oh, careful, like there's some off-leash dogs over here, and then I'd like bark at her with my foot, and she would just die laughing. She's like, that is so funny. I love that you do that. And I was like, thanks. I'm not that old. I can still know what a dog is.
I'm not that old.
Well, it felt like it was like someone who's older than them trying to like be hip with the kids these days.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I felt like I was doing. It was so funny. Anyway, that's my persona with my sister.
Yeah.
So the next archetype is the shadow. And so this one kind of consists of sex and life instincts. And so it exists as part of the unconscious mind and is composed of repressed ideas, weaknesses, desires, instincts, and shortcomings. And so this archetype contains all of the things that are unacceptable not only to society, but to one's own personal morals and values. And so it is very similar to the id in Freud's spiel or whatever. So that's next week.
Yeah.
And so Jung suggests that shadows can appear in dreams or visions, and it can take many forms, including like a snake, a monster, a demon, a dragon, or some other dark, wild, and exotic figure. Which is kind of interesting. And he also believes that people deny this element of their own psyche and project it onto others, which I would agree with 100%. That
Definitely.
makes a lot of sense. And so,
this is where
it
the
was
whole
shadow work that we talked about this. Yeah.
So this is why we like kind of dive into shadow work, and that's why you're supposed to work on the bad parts of yourself or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
even though all of you is
there's no part of you that's unbearable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next archetype is the anima or animus. The anima is the feminine image in the male psyche, and the animus is the male image in the female psyche. So it represents your true self rather than the image that we present onto others, and it serves as a primary source of communication with the collective unconscious. So he believes that this archetype can also influence sex roles and gender identities, and he says that they represent the masculine aspect in women and the feminine aspect in men. And so apparently this archetype is based on both the collective and the personal unconscious.
Right.
And so in many cultures, men and women are encouraged to adopt like their traditional gender roles. And he suggests that the discouragement of men exploring their feminine aspects and women exploring their masculine aspects serves to undermine the psychological development, which is fascinating.
So fascinating.
And then so the combined anima and animus is known as, what word is that, Ju?
Yeah, I don't know. I was really hoping I didn't have to say that.
Syzygy?
It's SYZYGY.
Yeah. Or the divine couple, which represents completion, unification, and wholeness. Essentially, this is your yin and yang of your whole self.
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of... This reminds me, actually. I was hanging out with at the golf place close to here. And so Sammy's brother comes up to me, and I had ordered buffalo chicken strips. And so I'd eaten them. He's like, oh, like you like spicy? And I was like, yeah, I quite enjoy like spicy foods. And he's like, yeah, I heard that women who can handle spicy things have higher levels of testosterone in their body.
Stop.
I was speechless. I had no idea what to say. I was like, He's like, so you got a little man in you, I guess. And so he was like, thank goodness I was there, because she was like, yeah, I guess I must have a little man in me too, because I quite enjoy spicy things or whatever. And I just kind of like giggled. I was like, I have no idea what to say to that.
Well, because knowing him, he didn't mean it as like a bad thing.
I know, it was just like
a weird study that he probably learned about.
This is the fact that I know that I'm sharing. And I was like, yeah, I totally get that, but I had no idea what to say to that.
So what's to say then about a lot of like like our warmer climates that are known for spicy foods?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they all masculine? More masculine?
I don't know. I don't know how true it is.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
An interesting concept.
I know. It was just the funniest thing. So I guess my animus was showing.
Yeah.
I guess. It was so funny because I'd never really not known what to say to someone.
Yeah.
And I was like,
cool.
I'm so sorry. I like, because I was trying to be like, oh, like, I guess like my beard must be coming in, or like that's why I've got
my balls dropped last week.
I know. Like, sorry, my growing out my leg hair. Like, I was like, none of those feel quite right for this situation. So I just laughed because it was so funny and so random.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I wanted to make like a little man in me joke.
Yeah.
But I was like, none of this is just right for this moment. Yeah. But yeah, it was so funny.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah. Okay, so then the fourth one we have is the self. And so this is the archetype that represents the unified unconsciousness and consciousness of an individual. And so Jung represents this as a circle, square, or mandala. And so creating the self occurs through a process of individuation where the various aspects of personality are integrated. And so he believes that disharmony between the unconscious and the conscious mind can lead to psychological problems. And then when you bring these conflicts into awareness and accommodate them in your conscious awareness, it's an important part of the individualization process. Mm-hmm. So yeah, self is basically just like you're working on your shadow and your animus and your, what's the first one? Persona as well, kind of thing.
Yeah. And so before we jump into the next, like the 12 archetypal figures, I want to mention the cardinal orientations of these figures. And so your cardinal orientation is basically your life motto, your personality compass, and that must be mapped out. And so the four orientations are ego, which is to make one's presence known, order, to maintain structure in societal settings, social, to foster genuine connection with others, or freedom, to break free from physical and psychological limits. And as you've seen in last week's episode, it is very similar to
those
the cups.
5 cups. Yeah, very similar.
So to come up with the 12 archetypal figures, Jung studied symbols and myths of many different cultures. And so these archetypes represent behaviors, patterns that make up different ways of being. And they're also cultural symbols and images that exist in the collective unconscious.
So with that being said, how can he be culturally biased if he is then looking and taking like symbols and myths from different cultures?
I think he just called people on their shit and then
they're
like, I don't like that.
Because when I hear culturally biased, it feels like he thought that the Swiss culture is
elite.
Yes. Which it could be, but I feel like if you think that your own culture is elite, you don't often spend a lot of time looking at other people's cultures.
Maybe he only looked through like a whitewashed cultures, or only looked through like a handful of mythology that of people who were like him but not him.
Yeah, he focused on like the Greek and the Roman mythology and versus like Native American or like Egyptian, I guess. Or
on the same token, in the area, he wouldn't have been able to get to, right?
Well, I guess maybe not Native American, but like indigenous people as well. Yeah. Because when was he? Early 1900s?
I want to say, yeah. Well, Freud was in 19 like 20s, 30s and stuff, right?
Yeah. The new movie Oppenheimer. Yeah. I didn't realize that Einstein was a part of that. I had never actually thought about Einstein like living. Like he's always just been dead to me, right? And so when he's like actually taking place in this movie, which I haven't seen yet, but yeah, it was wild.
So Jung was born in 1875 and he died in 1961.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So a lot of his work, I guess, would have been early 1900, 19 to 1935-ish. So
interesting. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So my question still stands.
He has 5 children.
Really? Oh my gosh. My mom sent me a thing this morning that said that Rasputin's daughter was a lion tamer and a dancer, and then she died in 1977 in LA. It was
Rasputin. He's a fun character too.
Yeah, she worked as a dancer and a lion tamer in a circus.
Interesting.
And she's like, did you know this? And I was like, I didn't think he had any legitimate children.
Lover of the Russian queen.
Yeah.
Legit.
What a man.
Alrighty.
Okay, so the first archetype is the sage, which falls under the freedom cardinal orientation.
Mm-hmm.
And so the sage is a free thinker. Their intellect and knowledge are the reason for living, their essence. They seek to understand the world and their being by using their intelligence and analytical skills.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The innocent is also the next one. And it's also under freedom. So the innocent is optimistic and always searching for happiness. It seems like they have read and absorbed every self-help book in the world. They see the good in everything. They feel well adjusted to the world around them, and they want to please others and feel like they belong.
That's my dad. That's so my dad.
Yeah.
So the explorer, which is also freedom, is a bold traveler who sets out without a clear path and are always open to novelty and adventure. They have a deep love of discovering new places and new things about themselves. However, they're always searching for perfection, and they're rarely satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Now, going into the order cardinal orientation, we start with the ruler. So the ruler is a classic leader that may believe that they should bring order to any situation.
Mm-hmm.
They're stable, they strive for excellence, and want everyone to follow their lead. They have plenty of reasons of why everyone should listen to them, but their desire to impose their will on others, they can easily become a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like the villainous king in movies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so then their creator, which is the next one in the order. And so it has a profound desire for freedom because they love novelty. They love to transform things in order to make something completely new. The creator is clever, nonconformist, and self-sufficient, as well as imaginative and good-humored. Mm-hmm. However, they can also be inconsistent and spend more time thinking than actually doing. Fair enough.
I have a little bit of creator in me for sure.
I know. I was like, I'm not the creator. And then that last sentence, I was like, yeah, maybe. Maybe.
And then so for the last order, we have caregiver. And so the caregiver feels stronger than other people. So they consequently offer maternal protection to those around them. They want to protect people from harm. They want to prevent any danger or risk or threatening other people's happiness. And in extreme cases, the caregiver turns into a martyr who constantly reminds everyone of their sacrifices.
Yeah. There was something, I don't know if I have it later on or if it was in the last episode or the next episode, but there was something about how it's an ego. The female ego is how like women have been taught to like be this martyr and be this caregiver and like sacrifice. And then they almost get to the point where they're like, dude, look at all I'm sacrificing and I'm getting nothing. Or they're like only doing it for the sacrifice so that they can say, oh, I sacrificed that or whatever, right?
Yeah. Which is why psychologists then produce hysteria. And we've talked about hysteria before.
We sure have. Okay, so the next one is the magician, and it's the first of the ego orientation. And so the magician is constantly growing and transforming, and they regenerate and renew for themselves and others. The negative side is that their mood can be contagious, so they can sometimes turn positive events into a negative one, which isn't where I thought that was going, because if they're like renewing themselves for themselves and others, I don't know. I just read the first little bit in a very positive light.
Sometimes the renewal process is messy though, right? So it seems like it can swing either way.
Yeah.
And then we are seeing these archetypes also in tarot, like when Alexa talks about the magician in tarot. And
is there 12 major arcanas?
Yeah, which would be
one of each of these archetypes, probably.
Into some degree, because like the jester would probably be like the fool, and the arcanas.
There's the
ruler
lovers,
would be like the ace or the your favorite card.
The hot guy?
Yeah. King of...
the Emperor.
The Emperor, that's it. So it's the Emperor and the Empress. And so they basically just, play off of these because it's common and familiar and whatnot, which is fascinating.
Fun.
Yeah. So the next one we have is the hero. And so the hero is who we see is like all the superhero movies pretty much. So he's the axis of the hero's life is power. And they have an uncommon vitality and resistance that they use to fight for power or honor. So they hate losing. They'll do anything to avoid it. In fact, they rarely lose because they never give up. And they can also be overly ambitious and controlling. And so this is where also the phrase, like, don't be a hero, when it comes into play.
Yeah, well, some battles aren't yours to fight.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the next one we have is the rebel or outlaw. And so they are a transgressor who provokes people and don't care at all about other people's opinions. They often go against the grain and think for themselves as a result. They don't like to be pressured or influenced, and their negative side is that they can become self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now we're going into the social cardinal.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first one of this is the lover. And so the lover is all heart and sensitivity. They love, and love to lavish it and on other people. Their greatest happiness is feeling loved, and they enjoy everything that is pleasing the senses. They value beauty above all.
So then I feel like the negative side of that would be like vanity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So the next we have is the jester, who likes to laugh. They don't wear any masks. I find that interesting because jesters depicted in they have facial coverings, right? And they tend to break down other people's walls. They never take themselves seriously because their goal is to enjoy life. And their negative side is that they can be lewd, lazy, or greedy.
And our final archetype and the final one in social is the orphan, and also some labeled it as the everyman.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw that in here too. So this archetype often walks around with open wounds. They feel betrayed or disappointed. They want other people to take charge of their life. When no one does, they feel disappointed. They spend time with those who feel like who feel like just like them. They often play the victim and pretend to be innocent. They have a cynical side and a manipulative talent. So it's like the boohoo for me. Often abusers, I would say, kind of fall under that archetype.
Yeah.
Not always, but a lot of them kind of like, oh, the boohoo for me. Like, why aren't you appeasing me?
Well, I feel like
Vibe.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are borderline toxic who do have the orphan archetype as well. And I know that I definitely, the way the world is right now is I feel like sometimes I would go into the orphan but it's because of like people only listen to you if you're complaining about something.
Yeah.
So instead of being like content and happy with what life's going on, you're constantly focusing on the negatives because that's the only way people will like listen to you or like kind of thing. So I find that I sometimes like go into the orphan because it feels like that's just what you do. You're so obsessed with the negatives, right?
Yeah. And it's easy to get involved in that cycle, especially if those around you are negative or if the world around you is negative.
Exactly.
So,
but very fun.
So now when you think about literature and movies, like consider what category your favorite characters fall under. Do they have the same traits, or do they have traits that you want to aspire to have? And so like when I was thinking about that, because I'm like, as I'm reading these archetypes, it's like I'm fascinated by them, and there's certain ones that I immediately am drawn to. So why am I drawn to them?
Yeah.
And so I think about like my two favorite like childhood movies, which is Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas.
Yeah.
So I really like Belle and I really like Pocahontas.
Yeah.
And so I would label Belle as like the innocent in many ways, like the one who's like reading the books and optimistic and doing all this kind of stuff and wanting to please others.
Yeah.
To an extent. Like I don't know what else to label her as in this.
I feel like she would be either the lover as well or the creator.
You think creator?
A little bit. Because, like, they're clever, they're nonconformist, and self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And that is who Belle was. That's why Gaston didn't like her.
Yeah.
Right? But then you can also, if you're looking at it from, like, a cynical point of view, where, like, yeah, she was just sitting around reading books all the time when she could have been doing something else.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily a bad thing, right?
But either way, as an innocent or a creator, those are two that I'm drawn to. Right? I feel I understand the innocent, I understand the creator, and then Pocahontas is very much an explorer. Yeah. And I was I've very much been into that, kind of drawn to the freedom quadrant. Like I've always been one for travel and I'm going to do what I want. And you don't need to like, let me be like, don't listen to whatever. And so it's kind of funny that those two characters from my childhood then kind of relate to who I see myself as now in many ways. Not always, but in many ways. Yeah. And so was I drawn to them because I've always had those innate traits, or did I like them for other reasons and then adopt those traits? True. So how much of that is personal versus collective unconsciousness? Yeah. In this, like yours is Cinderella, which I would say was very much lover, or even
lover or or creator as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
But I wouldn't say she was nonconformist though, because all she wanted to do was to fit in. But
not necessarily.
But she wasn't allowed to fit in. Like she was forced to be a caregiver.
Yeah, she was forced to be a caregiver, but she really had this desire for freedom because of her step family. But she was also, I guess, the lover because she would never leave them high and dry like that. Like she couldn't just leave. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would do lover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how much of that, like, do you feel drawn to that? Is that like something you would adopt as your own personality trait, or is it just something that you should admire?
Yeah.
Like, am I crazy just saying like
no, I think yours definitely makes sense. Mine is confusing for me because I love Cinderella so much, but I don't know that I necessarily felt like I had an evil stepmother and I was being forced to like wash their dishes and wake up and bring them breakfast, right? So like,
okay, but take that out. Take that out aside though. Like, did you feel like you had to do more work being the oldest, or did you feel, or is there like any?
Like, I definitely felt like my parents were tougher on me because I was the oldest, and they had to set that expectation for my siblings, but not. When I was in that scenario, that's not something that I was identifying with Cinderella. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's like I'm not trapped in a castle and marrying a beast.
Literally.
But I liked who Belle was, how she showed compassion and adventure and wanting more. And
I feel like who I am and who I was growing up was more Belle. But it was because she had a yellow dress. I've never identified with Belle. I'm like, I am Belle. Yeah. Like 100%. Yeah. But I could never be Belle because she had an ugly dress.
Oh my gosh.
So there's that where I'm not thinking that deeply about this either, right?
Well, even Pocahontas, like, I'm not a Native American tribal person, but I liked her sense of exploration and being like, you don't know everything.
Oh yeah. No, right? She was like amazing for like, not like women empowerment, but for like just intrigue and like going against the norm and being like, no, like, not anyway. Yeah, weird. I don't know.
Yeah. And then so like as I said above too, like authors and screenwriters will often use these archetypes for character development because they are familiar, right? So we can see ourselves in these characters. So most like stick to what they know. And so in English class, like what types of characters did you create in short stories, right? Or think about things that you would always like write about, and just for ponder's sake, honestly. Yeah. Right. Like, again, like when I had to write a story, I often wrote about like someone running away for adventure and doing like that. So there was definitely a part of myself that was like craving that adventure, which I eventually I satisfied. Yeah. Right. But it's always been like this whole, I'm like, oh, that looks so cool and adventurous and lustful and da da da. And I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get that
for me.
And see, I don't know. I hated English class, but it's because I don't think in the way, like, I enjoy writing stories and I enjoy writing essays and researching and stuff, but not in English class. Okay. Like, I was so bad at it. And there's one story that when I go home today, I'm going to try and find, because when I wrote it and I was reading it back as an adult, it sounded like I was on crack cocaine. It was insane. I think my main character's name was Graham Cracker. And he was like, anyway, it was wild. If I find it, I'll read it next episode. It was insane. And I was like, so maybe I just, like, I think my characters would have been people who were like strong and confident and didn't care so much. And were named Graham Cracker. But it was literally so insane. I was like reading it back and I was like, what? Because I was trying to write a series about, I think it was Jacques and like Jeannie or someone. And I was going to do this whole like series about all the adventures that they went on. So I went like Jacques and so went trials biking. Jacques and so did whatever. And that's where they met Graham Cracker. And Jock and so did something else because I had written one story and I was like, yeah, like I really did good character development. Like I'm just really going to do these whole characters. It was so good.
Yeah.
It was so bad. Yeah. But that's that. So I guess maybe adventure as well because it was going to be an adventure series.
Yeah.
But I don't remember any stories really from like high school, university, or English class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in my university, my English class was taught by a guy who was in the Titanic movie.
Oh.
Yeah, he was in the opening credits.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So he's like, because people on my floor who took that class the first semester, they told me that. And I was like, okay, whatever. So I walked in knowing what I was walking into or whatever. And then at the end, he was like, did you guys know? And they like played us the scene. And we were like, yeah, actually, I had been telling everyone.
We had to toot his own horn there too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, so just to throw a little bit more on Jung, that because that kind of completes like the basis of the archetypes. So Jung proposed that human responses to the archetypes are similar to instinctual responses in animals. But a criticism of Jung is that there's no evidence that archetypes are biologically based or similar to animal instincts.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah, so that was based off a study from Rosler in 2012.
Interesting.
And so rather than being seen as purely biological, more recent research has suggests that archetypes emerge directly from our experiences and our reflections of linguistic or cultural characteristics, which is by Jung and Eisendrath in 1995.
And not Carl Jung. No. Young.
Yeah.
That's very interesting because I would agree that, yeah, archetypes are very much made up of our human experiences and our interactions and all of that fun stuff. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, we are all animals. So you can say that there is some sort of animal instinct that has.
Well, I can almost think of anyone in the animal kingdom that shows traits like that.
Mm-hmm. I cannot, because right now the only thing I'm thinking of is the Lion King.
Yeah, but think of like the monkey as a jester or the.
Mm-hmm. But that was based off of a different story.
Yeah. But when you think of like the
way.
The
monkey as a jester or Timon and Pumbaa? Because the monkey wasn't the jester.
No, he's a wise one in that one.
Yeah.
Well, not, but like I'm thinking in life in general. Like I would say like monkeys as either rebels or jesters.
Yeah, that's usually how they're portrayed.
Because monkeys don't. In real life, as real life experiences with monkeys, they just like take your shit
and then throw it back at you. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like it's very like even symbolically, like why, like when you have to place an animal to these. Why are those the animals that you place as them? Ooh, let's see if we can. Now I want to do that.
I would say a spider is a magician.
Yeah, I guess so.
For ego, we have to do ego. So I'd say hero is probably like a lion. Like they have a little bit of a hero complex.
Yeah, I would do hero as a lion.
And rebel outlaw, I'd maybe go with like a bull or something.
Yeah, or like a snake. Yeah, I would do, Oh, but the ruler. The ruler would be a lion. Did we do that one already?
No, we did hero.
Hero.
Well, what's the hero then?
Maybe like a tiger?
I don't know. I wouldn't say.
Because like lions are like king of the jungle.
Yeah. But they also have a hero complex.
I guess.
But
yeah, I don't know. And then the innocent I would do is like a mouse or something like that, or maybe a bird. Although a bird I think would be more of a sage.
Yeah.
But
Very
birds aren't real, so it doesn't really matter.
Government drones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, so if you try to like do that.
Creator would be rabbit. No, caregiver would be rabbits. I think, just because I have so many babies.
I think of what a lover would be. Honestly, probably a puffin.
Like the weird penguins?
It's a bird.
Okay.
They mate for life.
Or otters.
Because otters can be assholes.
Yeah, I know, but they sleep holding hands and they give each other rocks.
Puffins mate for life and they just like live at sea and just catch fish and just like hang out with their lover all the time,
That's adorable. Okay, yeah, a puffin can be a lover. That's so sweet. That's so sweet.
Yeah. But it's fun to think about, right? Play around with.
Like the more traditional, like if you had to portray the lover in like The Lion King, what would you use?
The mom.
Yeah. Or Nala.
I guess the mom falls under like the caregiver too.
Yeah.
I don't know if Nala is a all heart and sensitivity. She's more
Nala,
more Pocahontas. She's more like
explorer.
Yeah.
But also Simba would be explorer.
I think Simba has a hero complex.
Yeah, it is based off the hero's journey kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Scar would be
the outlaw.
The outlaw.
Rebel. Yeah.
Right. And then
Timon and Pumbaa are definitely the jesters, or Timon maybe is the no, Pumbaa's like the innocent, I think. He's kind of like just goes around.
He's just kind of definitely. And then Timon is the this the jester.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say Nala maybe goes kind of sage-ish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so, because she's not like, she goes to find Simba to like help him save, so she's not like shy and meek. She's definitely like a powerful woman.
Lioness.
Yeah, okay. I was like, that's not the proper term.
No.
Okay.
That's interesting. And then, as I touched on before, like above, in addition to the archetypes, Jung was the first to propose the two major attitudes for personality, which is extroversion and introversion. And he identified the four basic functions: thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuiting.
That's not right.
It's a weird word.
Intuiting, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which we now use for personality tests.
And tune into episode 1 if you want to know ours.
Exactly. Those discoveries yielded 8 different types, but we now use the 16 types with the additions of judging and prospecting in the 16 personalities.
Right.
And so in addition to 16 personalities tests, the archetypes overlap the 4 humors theory, which was also temperament theories and astrological elements, instinctual variance, and the enneagram test as well.
Oh, what's the 4 humors theory?
That was the bile.
Right, where you're like black bile,
yellow bile, blood, and forgetting the last one.
Tears. I don't know.
No, but that was like the 4 humors of like why people like act the way they do. It's based off of their humors.
Yeah. Okay.
We now realize that black bile is like not a thing.
And if it is, you should get that checked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those that have too much blood are gonna have heart issues, and that was like early medicine.
Yeah. That was like one of in our first 10 episodes.
I think that was more recent. That's when we talked about
It wasn't here.
Yeah. It was.
I don't think so.
It was in April.
Was it? That we talked about the 4 humors? No, I totally remember this happening in the other place.
It was here because it was the same episode we talked about the guy who looks like the guy from The Princess Bride. Calcius.
Mowage.
Calcius or
Paracelsus. Calcius.
Paracelsus. Because he touched on the 4 humors in that episode, yeah.
I could have sworn we'd also talked about it.
I mean, maybe, but yeah, it was more recently.
Oh, wild. Okay.
Yeah. And then temperament was like childhood temperament theories.
I remember that one. Yeah.
The astrological elements contributes to zodiac, as we talked earlier.
Right.
Instinctual variance, and then the enneagram test, which we haven't done.
I know, but I think we should put it on our list to do.
Yeah.
Because I just personally want to know more about it.
Hey, segment. Do you want to do the enneagram test as our segment?
Yep.
So yeah, we're gonna, as for the first episode, we just did through was it Truity?
I think so.
So we're gonna stick with Truity, and we're gonna do the enneagram personality test. There are 7 pages of questions, so we're
just going to pause the video and then come back with our answers.
Pretty much.
All right. This test is very interesting because even since the first time I took it, I think I'm answering these questions differently.
Well, you've changed a lot probably, right?
Yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see.
Going through some of these, it's having deja vu moment.
Yeah, right?
It's like, I want to learn as much as I can about how the world works. It's important for me to understand what can go wrong in a situation.
Yeah.
Like, all those kinds of things. I'm like, yep.
A lot of these, I feel, are close to, like the RADS test for autism.
Right, you did that, hey?
Oh, honey, don't do that. Yeah, but I need to do it again. And I want to do the new one.
Would you say I'm an upbeat person? I went neutral because I'm like, I'm not, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, neutral maybe.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of things where like, yeah, I'd like to do that, but am I actually going to do that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not important to me to understand what can go wrong in a situation, but it is something I'm constantly thinking about.
It also feels like egotistical, like some of these questions. Like, there's one about like workplace, and it's like, do you contribute to your workplace, or does your workplace function well without you there?
Yeah.
And how do you feel like egotistical to be like, yeah, it's better when I'm there, but it also functions.
Yeah, like it functions just fine when I'm not there, but
every job I've had, I end up in like some sort of managerial-esque position. Because I can know shit and do things.
Well, even just like this one, I'm an average person with ordinary likes and dislikes. What does that mean?
Yeah.
I'm like neutral? Like
I went inaccurate because I wouldn't say my interests are ordinary. There definitely has its field, but if you look at the majority of people that I know, there's not a lot of people that have the same interests as I do.
Yeah, and I would agree for you with that one. But like in terms of dislikes, like I'm scared of snakes and spiders. Those are the two things that most people are like scared of, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like my likes are different, but my dislikes aren't really that different. I do not have a great deal of willpower. Self-improvement is a major interest of mine. Almost accurate. Next step.
My results.
Oh, did you do the birth date survey?
Nope.
Okay. Me neither. Get my results.
I got Enneagram 8. And so before we get blocked off about what it is, 8s are motivated by the desire to be independent and take charge of themselves and others. They are assertive personalities and passionate about life, which they approach with vigor and confidence. 8s know how to look after themselves. They pursue their own destiny. So I guess in that case, would I be like a ruler? If we're calling the archetypes, like would my Enneagram be like a very ruler-esque archetype?
Well, they have names. Enneagram 8. You're the challenger. So 8s are self-confident, strong and assertive, protective, resourceful, straight, talking, and decisive, but can also be egocentric and domineering.
So is that the rebel then? Because again, I wouldn't not say myself, I'm not a rebel.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not quite like F the world about everything, but I definitely am a little bit more rebellious in thought and action. Like challenging.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like, because the Enneagram is one where you can do like, is it what I'm thinking of when you're like a 9 wing whatever? So I think I'm a 2. So they say 2s seek to love and help people around them. They intuitively perceive when others need their support and they offer it unconditionally. Skilled at seeing the good in people, 2s will praise others warmly, being always ready with a kind word and a listening ear. They have a knack for making others feel like the most important person in the world.
So you definitely are like, again, the lover, caregiver.
So then what's the name for the 2? Enneagram 2 is the helper. That's so interesting because I was not a 2 the last time I took it. I think I was a 6. Or maybe I was a 9 because I think 9 is my second biggest.
So why does it... Then you go over to the Enneagram Institute.
Yeah.
It goes 8, and then there's an arrow to 2, which is growth, and 5, which is stress.
So you can do you can be like an 8 wing 2 or an 8 wing 3 or whatever. So you're like an 8 with like certain characters of another. I think that's why I want to do more research, is because I don't understand the wing type. So yeah.
Interesting.
So that's something like when we do an Enneagram episode, I want to kind of go more into. So you can either be an 8 wing 2 or an 8 wing 5. And so then there's different like levels, I guess. I bought sunflowers. Mia likes to eat my flowers. So she was chewing on them and tipped the vase over.
I got the answer to my question here.
Okay.
So the reason why the 8 is pointing to the 2 and the 5 is when moving in the direction of disintegration or stress, self-confidence 8 suddenly become more secretive and fearful at 5.
Okay.
However, when moving into the direction of integration or growth, lustful, controlling 8s become more open-hearted and caring like healthy 2s.
Oh, interesting.
So apparently when I'm in a growth mindset, I become like you.
Oh, that's cute.
When I'm stressed, I reserve myself and I
that's so
I
funny.
pull away, which I guess, yeah. I don't disagree.
Yeah. And then, so when I'm stressed, I become an 8. But when I'm in growth, I become a 4.
We're very balanced, hey?
Yeah. What is a 4? Where did you find that?
It's in the first section and under the brief section. It's right above the examples.
Right above the examples. Okay. Yeah, so when moving in their direction of disintegration, needy 2s become aggressive and dominating. No, not me.
Could it be you?
That's funny.
We don't know her.
That's so funny. Okay, when moving in their direction of integration, prideful, self-deceptive 2s become more self-nurturing and emotionally aware like healthy 4s. Yikes.
Prideful.
Oh my god. Okay, so then they have like basic fear for a 2 is of being unwanted, unworthy of being loved. So my basic desire is to feel loved.
Mm-hmm.
So Enneagram 2 with a 1 wing is a servant, but Enneagram 2 with a 3 wing is the host or hostess.
So for 8, the basic fear of 8 is being harmed or controlled by others. And my basic desire is to protect themselves and be in control of their own life and destiny, which agree.
Yep.
Enneagram 8 with a 7 wing is the maverick, and Enneagram 8 with a 9 wing is the bear.
Interesting.
Whatever those are. Which is funny because the animal I think I most relate to is a bear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And that's what I look at the traits and qualities of a bear. I'm like, yep, I can relate.
Interesting. Yeah. So the first thing I have is that someone got the 8. I think it might have been me. I think the first time I got this, I got the 8. So I must have been
in a fiery mood.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which it was Christmas and we were at Bryce's family's house and so everyone did it.
Mm-hmm. I got the Enneagram 8 with a wing 9 overview, so I relate to the bear probably more.
Okay. Wait, how did you find that out?
I just searched up the bear Enneagram.
Okay.
So that brings out the protection instinct in a more relaxed way. Enneagram 8 wing 9s are very warm, reliable, and helpful people. They advocate for other people and have a sixth sense that detects threats and helps them protect their loved ones. They like taking on all responsibility, even though it can be exhausting sometimes. They're also really good listeners, which makes them very welcoming and empathetic.
Ooh.
Which is that they share the 8s and 9s share the same group, which is the gut triad.
Oh my gosh.
Which means they deal with their reality through their instinct.
No way.
They perceive danger, conflicts, or problems and decide how to deal with it.
Oh my gosh.
Most of the time they find a great balance between action and reaction because of their clever mind that's always a step ahead. Like bears, they often withdraw themselves when they go through hard times, but instead of hibernating to rest and live through winter, they do it to avoid showing their vulnerabilities.
Oh my gosh.
People are afraid of bears because of their mighty presence. Something similar happens to 8 wings 9, but believe us, they love to hug. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I would definitely say I'm more of that than a maverick. I'm not like I need to fight for everyone.
That's so interesting. Okay.
Most basic fears to be hurt or betrayed.
Dude, I think we need to just go through for one of our next episodes. We just need to read through what the Enneagram Institute says about our Enneagram because it has like levels of development. So like at your best, you're these. At your average, you're these. At your unhealthiest, you're these.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. And then there's compatibility with other types. And then there's like addictions and stuff.
Okay.
And so one of mine is hypochondria.
No, really?
Yep, dead ass. Dead ass.
Couldn't be you. We're not talking about the same juice.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Cool.
So stay tuned for an episode about that.
Will that be boring? Maybe. Will it be interesting? For us, for sure.
I think it'll be very interesting. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, because then maybe, does the Enneagram Institute have its own test that we could take for that one to see if it'll tell us the wing?
Testing center. Take a
Because I
test.
feel like the wing is like, I would be a 2-wing 3 because my 3 is bigger than my 1.
You have to purchase it.
Oh, of course.
$12 in single use.
Oh my gosh, that's so much for a test. Did you take a screenshot of your little graph?
Well, right now.
Because my 8 is the smallest.
Really?
Yeah.
So my 8's the largest. And then my second largest is like 3 and 5.
Oh, yeah. My 5 is my second smallest.
My 9 is the smallest.
Oh, my 9 is like my second biggest. I couldn't tell if I was a 9 or a 2. Or a 3. That's very interesting. I wish they didn't do the graphs as a circle. I wish they did them as bars because I can't really tell which one's bigger on this graph. But.
Oh, are you what were your wings?
1 or 3. I think I'm a 2-wing 3.
Okay, so are the wings, I'm either, if I'm an 8, then I'm either a 7 or a 9.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it.
So you're an 8-wing 7 because you identify with the bear, right? Is your 7?
9 is the bear. The 7 is the maverick.
Oh, and so then is the 9 bigger than the 7?
No, my 9's smaller. So am I actually a maverick? But I don't really feel like a maverick.
Maybe.
I'm Googling it.
Yeah, like that's something I just want to know. The
combination of a type 8 and type 7 characteristic produces a very worldly, materialistic, and aggressive personality type.
Oh my gosh.
People with this personality type are very ambitious, are interested in accumulating lots of resources. Because their core personality type is an 8, they pursue their desires very aggressively, which will usually achieve their goals.
Oh my gosh.
Thanks to their 7 wing, people with personality 8 wing 7 appreciate life and all of it that has to offer. Wow. Because they're still 8s, there's an underlying theme of control in their desire to experience the best of this world. Well, okay, I don't really know how to answer that.
Okay.
Am I both? Have I got both wings?
So your dominant wing is indicated by the higher score of one of the types on either side of your basic type.
Okay, so then I'm an 8 wing 7.
Yes. And so then I'm a 2 wing 3.
I want to be a bear so badly. I still relate to a bear. Like the description there, I'm like,
Yeah.
You can't tell me I'm not that.
That's so funny.
Or maybe I'm just delusional. Maybe I want to be that.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally a 2 wing 3. Okay. So they tend to be ambitious, altruistic, and sociable in their behavior. They love building connections with others and helping to make a difference in the world. They fear being unwanted or worthless. And they usually avoid this by building personal connections with others and working hard to meet the needs of the community. Their most basic desire is to be loved and accepted, and they may express this by being extremely attentive and attached to other people. The hosts tend to suppress their own negative emotions, which when done frequently can lead to high levels of stress or unexpected outbursts. Not me. Huh. What's my weakness? Oh, I tend to be competitive and obsessive. I don't acknowledge my own needs, and I take criticism personally. And criticizing themselves and others when under pressure. Yeah.
8 wing 7 is labeled the independent.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey.
The 8's natural determination and leadership meets the 7's charisma and social skills.
Well, even like 2 wing 3 is the host. And I'm so in my host era. Oh my gosh.
That's a fun segment that I think now is going to have to be turned into an episode
a whole
of sorts.
episode, yep.
Even if it's just like a mini-sode or whatever. Just something fun.
That's so good.
Cool.
All right. Well, that was Jungian Archetypes and the Enneagram.
Yeah.
It turns out.
Yeah.
So fun.
Take that. Alrighty. I am Mak Joy.
I'm Mak Jubes.
We are Sometimes Ciabatta Slaps on all social media platforms. You can find our website at sometimesciabattaslaps.com. That is sometimes Ciabatta slaps.
Oh my gosh. Please don't make us spell. That is SOMETIME CIABATTA SLAPS.com.
On our website, you can find links to all of our episodes, video and audio. You can also find our book club reviews and links to said books if you want to read them yourself. And then you can also find our affiliate links.
Yes.
We got lots of good stuff. Dyson has some new codes that have just been updated there.
Yeah, like $150 off of a Dyson vacuum.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a new vacuum,
check that out.
and you want a Dyson, we got a code.
Yeah, exactly.
And then if you like what we're doing, or if you just like us, give us a like, rating, reviews, shares on your stories. All of it gives us lots of love, and we would appreciate you.
Yes.
And we want to get out there.
Yeah, exactly. Keeps us relevant.
Yep.
But yeah.
And grateful.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That's all the key points. So on that note, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
Bye.